continues between Dalton's mayor and the village's board of trustees after multiple members did not attend tonight's monthly meeting.
As the drama surrounding Tiffany Henyard intensifies, what was once a murky controversy has rapidly morphed into a full-blown scandal, with shady deals, dark secrets, and unforeseen betrayals surfacing from every direction. Despite mounting evidence and a growing wave of allegations against her, the public has been left perplexed by one glaring question: why has she not yet been arrested? With her name splashed across headlines and whispers of under-the-table dealings, the tension surrounding Henyard's case continues to build, leaving many wondering how she has managed to avoid the consequences of her actions for so long. For months, the public has grappled with the baffling reality of her apparent immunity from justice. The situation has taken a dramatic turn, however, following a stunning revelation in a high-stakes legal meeting, where Henyard's own lawyer turned against her, exposing shocking new details that left everyone in the room reeling. This was no ordinary legal maneuver. It was a seismic shift that threatened to shake the very foundation of Henyard's carefully constructed public persona, revealing her to be entangled in corruption, deceit, and perhaps something even darker. For her followers and critics alike, the discovery that her own lawyer might be betraying her added a layer of complexity to an already intricate case, further fueling suspicions that Henyard's continued freedom may not be a result of mere legal strategy, but rather a product of some unseen, potentially corrupt forces working behind the scenes to shield her. Speculation about hidden alliances, secret confessions, and underhanded deals has only grown as more details surface, painting Henyard as a figure not just caught up in scandal, but one whose entanglements run far deeper and more sinister than originally imagined. As more pieces of the puzzle are revealed, it's becoming increasingly clear that Henyard's ability to remain free, despite the overwhelming evidence against her, is not simply due to a well-crafted legal defense, but may also be tied to something more nefarious, something that raises uncomfortable questions about the extent of the power and influence at play in her case. The public, now more restless than ever, is demanding answers, and the legal system can no longer afford to ignore the mounting pressure for accountability. What started as a murky controversy has now evolved into a showdown between Henyard and the truth, with each new revelation intensifying the sense of a looming reckoning. As the walls close in on her, the once untouchable figure of Henyard, who appeared to glide above the consequences of her actions, is now facing a potentially catastrophic unraveling. Yet, even as the net tightens, many still cannot shake the feeling that Henyard's world may not be so easily torn down. The forces protecting her, whether they are the result of powerful connections, behind-the-scenes deals, or other shadowy influences, seem to be deeply entrenched, giving her an unsettling amount of leverage despite the weight of the evidence against her. This has left both her supporters and detractors struggling to understand how someone so deeply embroiled in scandal could continue to remain untouchable. The betrayal of her lawyer has opened a window into the possibility that the forces surrounding Henyard's case may be even more corrupt and widespread than previously thought, leaving everyone wondering how far the web of deceit truly stretches. While Henyard's carefully cultivated public image is crumbling under the weight of these revelations, her continued freedom has sparked even more fervent calls for justice. It's clear that the pressure is mounting, and the public's thirst for answers is becoming harder to ignore. But the question that still lingers like a dark cloud hanging over the entire ordeal is whether Henyard will be able to maintain her grip on freedom for much longer, or whether the tide will finally turn against her. With the truth continuing to surface in shocking waves, the stakes have never been higher, and it seems as though Henyard's fall from grace is inevitable. The real question now is whether the forces that have kept her from facing the consequences of her actions will continue to protect her, or if, at long last, the relentless pursuit of truth will bring her to account. The saga of Tiffany Henyard, once seemingly invincible, is now on the verge of a dramatic and irrevocable collapse, and her story may serve as a cautionary tale for all those who believe they can manipulate the system without facing the repercussions of their actions. In the end, no matter how powerful or influential an individual may be, the truth has a way of breaking through even the most carefully constructed facades.
I never was on the ship, the jumper ship. Almost been.
Dramatic meeting in Dalton leads to even more controversy, this time over a new hire.
Not only did Mayor Tiffany Henyard make the hire without consent from the board, we're learning to...
Given that hiring a strong defense team is usually a smart move in the face of serious allegations, there is now indisputable proof that Tiffany Henyard has enlisted the assistance of two criminal defense lawyers who have a reputation for handling high-profile cases, including some of the most infamous court battles in the nation. The quality of the attorneys Henry A.R. has selected has drawn criticism, particularly because she has continuously insisted on her innocence. The choice to hire such powerful and divisive individuals has led to much conjecture as to why she would require such an aggressive legal group. She really has nothing to hide, in my opinion. Although Brinley was able to secure a fee for his client, his defense strategies were widely criticized for being extremely unethical, frequently blurring the lines of acceptable legal practice. Over the years, numerous claims have surfaced that Brinley used illegal tactics, including coaching witnesses to lie, tampering with evidence, and even while these tactics were unquestionably successful in certain cases, they also raised serious ethical issues and had a lasting negative impact on Brinley's career. The controversy surrounding Brinley P. began in September 2015 when he was charged with 21 federal crimes, including conspiracy and obstruction of justice. Prosecutors accused him of unethical behavior, including improperly instructing witnesses and manipulating evidence, in 6 separate cases in which he represented the defense. Although he was ultimately innocent of the allegations, the legal battle that followed left many questioning his integrity and severely damaged his reputation. Although his career has continued, it is still heavily tainted, but his conduct outside of court has also raised concerns. Several former clients have accused Hefty of fraud, claiming that he handled their cases improperly or abandoned them, failing to perform adequate assessments or fulfill his promises. As the complaints grew, Brinkley's reputation took a hit and his actions came under increased scrutiny. But despite his controversial past, Henyard chose to entrust him with the defense. Many of these disgruntled customers have accused him of defrauding them of their money, leaving them feeling duped and abandoned. Henyard's decision to invite Bradley and another attorney, Ed McDavid, to a public event in Dalton only served to exacerbate the controversy surrounding her case. What was initially expected to be a sober discussion about her developing legal issues quickly devolved into an ardent defense of Hearn in an effort to shift the blame for the village's ongoing unrest onto others, making the event an odd and combative spectacle. In particular, Bradley made a number of audacious remarks that shocked the crowd and were quickly found to be false or misleading. Henyard makes an effort to portray herself as the sole victim in the entire circumstance. One of his most well-known and scrutinized accusations was that he was the target of a coordinated smear campaign. This defense tactic was widely perceived as gravely flawed and, in many situations, completely untrue, accusing different officials and trustees of organizing a coordinated effort to cause harm. Her picture, the larger picture of public outrage and mounting evidence against the claims that the trustees were responsible for the unrest, is often overlooked by observers, who see Brinley's attempt to shift blame to others as an attempt to manipulate the situation and distort the narrative in favor of Henyard. They also question whether Brinley was merely trying to deflect attention from Henyard's own role in the dispute, rather than offering new information or insightful analysis to back up her claims. Although he supported Brinkley's viewpoint, McDavid's comments came out as more of an attempt to belittle the very people expressing legitimate concerns. He did not provide any significant facts or clarify the primary concerns. It became clear that despite their high level of expertise, her legal team was willing to go to extreme lengths to defend her. However, as the accusations against Henyard mount, it is unclear whether this strategy will ultimately be successful in the long run. Even though Brinkley's tactics may have been successful in previous high-profile cases, his contentious past clouded his current defensive attempts, and the more he and McDavid tried to deflect criticism from the accusations, the more their credibility is called into question. Many attendees of the meeting started to question why the defense team was acting in this manner and whether it was a last-ditch attempt to divert attention away from the harsh accusations against her. The only question that remains is whether their aggressive measures can finally spare Henyard, or whether the mounting evidence and public outcry will ultimately result in her being brought to justice.
Board of Trustees meeting was canceled because there weren't enough trustees present. But Mayor Tiffany Henyard still showed up and appointed a new village administrator.
Despite the tireless efforts of Tiffany Henyard's criminal defense team to shield her from mounting legal troubles, her situation has only worsened. One of the more glaring issues surfaced when Brinley, one of Henyard's attorneys, made a public claim that the board lacked the authority to call meetings and misrepresented the requirements of the Open Meetings Act. Brinley argued that a 10-day notice was required to cancel a meeting, but this assertion was misleading and inaccurate, as the Act only mandates such notice when a public body changes the schedule of its regular meetings, not when canceling a single session. The confusion surrounding this claim was further compounded by Henyard's controversial appointment of Keith Freeman as village administrator. Although a motion was made to approve Freeman's appointment, video evidence clearly showed that the motion was not seconded, rendering it a failed proposal. Despite the evident disapproval from the board, Henyard proceeded with Freeman's appointment, which raised serious concerns about her disregard for proper procedure and board authority. This situation became even more tangled when Brinley falsely claimed that Jason House, a trustee, lacked the ability to sign checks, even though the village's and county's regulations made it clear that House did indeed possess this authority. These misstatements, along with other apparent inaccuracies in Henyard's defense, left many questioning whether her legal team was focused on resolving the core legal issues at hand or merely shifting the blame to others, avoiding the substance of the charges against her. Brinley's attempt to argue that Henyard's personal attorney could override certain decisions of the board was also questionable, as he incorrectly suggested that the court, not the attorneys, had the authority to make those determinations, which only deepened doubts about his grasp of the legal landscape. This series of errors and misrepresentations has sparked a wave of skepticism surrounding Henyard's defense strategy, leading many to wonder if her attorneys are more focused on managing public relations rather than effectively defending her in court. Compounding the turmoil, a key meeting where Brinley and McDavid presented these claims did not include Henyard herself, and the village board, undeterred by her absence, proceeded with its business. The meeting, which addressed Dalton's budget, was marked by a series of complicated dynamics, including the public appearance of Stanley Brown, a board member and Henyard ally, who was caught in a delicate balancing act. Some residents encouraged Brown to attend the meeting, while others urged him to stay away, fearing that his presence might escalate tensions further. This meeting came just a week after Henyard attempted to call an unofficial gathering without a quorum, where she named a new village attorney and administrator, actions that were swiftly rejected as unauthorized by trustee Jason House. House's rejection of Henyard's actions further exposed the deepening chaos and lack of coordination within the village's leadership. His assertion that the meeting was unofficial and ineffective highlighted not only the confusion around Henyard's authority, but also underscored the growing fracture within the local government. The village board's continued operation without Henyard's involvement served to reinforce the impression that her influence was slipping, and her capacity to lead was rapidly being undermined by the ongoing legal and procedural missteps. As Henyard's leadership was increasingly questioned, her credibility and authority were further eroded, with many beginning to wonder whether she would be able to regain control or if her tenure as village leader was rapidly nearing its end. This series of missteps, combined with the public spectacle of her legal defense and the internal chaos of the village's operations, has created an atmosphere of uncertainty and distrust surrounding Henyard's ability to lead effectively. Her defense team's failure to present a coherent and factual defense strategy has only intensified the perception that they are more interested in managing public relations than in securing a legal victory, and it is becoming increasingly clear that the legitimacy of Henyard's actions and her authority as village leader are hanging by a thread. The growing disarray within the village, compounded by Henyard's apparent disregard for established procedures, has led to a sense that the situation is spiraling out of control, with no clear resolution in sight. As the legal challenges continue to mount and the internal strife deepens, it remains to be seen whether Henyard can weather the storm or whether the collective weight of her legal troubles and the unraveling of her authority will ultimately force her to step down, with her public image and career in tatters. As Tiffany Henyard's leadership of Dalton continues to spiral, many residents and political observers have begun to question whether she is truly in control of the town's governance. Public criticism and legal pressures have mounted, and her defense attorneys have appeared more focused on shifting blame than addressing the growing accusations against her. This has cast serious doubt on her ability to lead, with the town's political stability hanging by a thread as its leadership crisis deepens. The scandal surrounding Henyard's administration has become so severe that Dalton's political destiny now seems uncertain, as the community struggles to recover from the fallout of her controversial actions. As her leadership falters, residents are left wondering whether her time in office is quickly coming to an end. Amid the escalating scandal, the village trustees have been left to deal with the financial crisis that Henyard's administration allegedly exacerbated. At a recent trustee meeting, a series of urgent topics were discussed, including the municipality's worsening financial situation and potential layoffs. Dalton's financial struggles have become a focal point of the crisis, with Henyard at the center of multiple scandals in recent years. A major issue raised during the meeting was a disagreement with the village's bank, which issued a 60-day notice due to signature discrepancies. This action followed allegations that Henyard had refused to sign numerous checks totaling millions of dollars, raising suspicions of misuse of village funds. Beyond these financial concerns, Henyard's leadership has been marred by a series of scandals, ranging from allegations of financial mismanagement to accusations of personal misconduct. These controversies have drawn the attention of political observers and the people of Dalton, with many now questioning her competence and suitability to continue leading the town. In response to mounting financial concerns and a perceived lack of accountability, the village trustees took several measures aimed at addressing the fallout from Henyard's administration. They voted to stop covering the meals and travel costs for elected officials and staff while they were away, signaling an effort to curb some of the financial mismanagement that had been happening under Henyard's leadership. Additionally, the trustees suspended 18 company licenses that had been approved under Henyard's administration and issued a temporary ban on travel and food reimbursements. They also revised the requirements for check signatures, placing more controls on financial decisions in an attempt to mitigate further mismanagement. These actions were seen as a direct response to Henyard's prior failures in managing the village's finances, including issues surrounding the new firefighter contract through 2027, which was blamed on her administration's poor planning. During the meeting, several residents voiced their dissatisfaction with Henyard's leadership, calling for her immediate dismissal and expressing frustration at her continued presence in office despite the mounting legal and financial scandals. The legal problems surrounding Henyard's administration have continued to escalate, with further revelations of financial mismanagement and misconduct casting a dark shadow over her leadership. One of the most significant allegations against Henyard was the misuse of public funds, which has resulted in a large budget deficit, one much greater than initially stated. This deficit, which is in clear violation of state transparency laws, has led to growing distrust among Dalton's residents, many of whom feel that Henyard has failed to uphold her duty as mayor and has contributed to the town's current financial woes. These issues were further compounded by the growing number of allegations, including the controversial appointment of Keith Freeman as village administrator despite objections from the board, which further highlighted the lack of coordination and communication within the town's leadership. As the situation continues to deteriorate, the question of Henyard's leadership and whether she can continue to hold office remains a central issue for the people of Dalton. With the village's financial future at stake and a growing sense of disillusionment among residents, it's becoming increasingly clear that Henyard's time in office may be rapidly coming to a close. The combination of legal challenges, financial mismanagement, and an apparent lack of oversight has led many to wonder whether her ability to lead the town has been irreparably damaged. As the village trustees work to address the financial crisis and restore stability to Dalton, Henyard's absence and lack of leadership have become more glaring, further highlighting the fractured state of the town's government. The Henyard administration has significantly eroded public trust by withholding crucial spending data, despite repeated demands from residents and trustees for transparency. While Henyard herself acknowledged a $2 million budget, her administration has refused to take responsibility for the village's financial mismanagement, leading many trustees to believe that the actual deficit is far larger than officially reported. Allegations of overspending have only exacerbated the financial concerns within the village. Vice President Henyard has claimed that Henyard's administration squandered tens of thousands of dollars on extravagant expenditures between July and November 2023, including first-class flights, upscale lunches, and personal shopping sprees. One of the most egregious instances of this lavish spending was a 5-day trip to Austin, Texas, where Henyard and her top assistant reportedly spent more than $220,000 in public funds, indulging in luxury purchases like sports riding apparel and dining at high-end restaurants, as well as staying in opulent hotels. These revelations have sparked outrage among local residents, who are already grappling with the village's ongoing financial crisis and have cast serious doubt on Henyard's ability to manage public funds responsibly. Critics point to the extravagant spending patterns, budget imbalances, and her disregard for local business licensing issues as further evidence of her inability to properly oversee the village's finances. One such issue involved Lawrence Gardner's trucking business, which was accused of selling alcohol without proper authorization. However, Gardner refuted these allegations and successfully defended his case, leading some to believe that Henyard's administration may have targeted him for reasons beyond the legal matter itself. This further fuels suspicions that the administration has been using its power to settle personal scores. At a recent village board meeting, Henyard remained defiant in the face of mounting criticism, accusing her detractors of politically motivated attacks and dismissing the allegations as part of a smear campaign. Despite the mounting evidence of financial mismanagement and an apparent failure to address Dalton's financial woes, Henyard downplayed the seriousness of the budget deficit, refusing to acknowledge the scale of the crisis facing the village. She even defended her decision to host an $85,000 party for the Taste of Thornton Township event, which came amid significant budget cuts that had left residents questioning her priorities. The event, which featured performances by R&B singer Kesha Cole and rapper Jade, only added fuel to the fire, with many locals accusing Henyard of using public funds to bolster her personal reputation rather than addressing the village's pressing financial issues. Critics, including former Dalton trustee Valerie Stubbs, have been outspoken in their condemnation of the event, calling it a failure and pointing out that only about 70 people attended, far fewer than expected, given the extravagant spending involved. In addition to these questionable expenditures, it was revealed that between January 2023 and the present, Henyard and her team had charged more than $667,000 to township credit cards for out-of-town travel, including trips to New York, Atlanta, and Portland. These revelations have raised even more alarms, as the administration is now under investigation for allegedly misusing public funds for private benefits. The mounting financial scandals, including the lavish spending on personal travel and high-profile events, have left many questioning Henyard's ability to lead and whether she has been using her position for personal gain. The increasing scrutiny has only intensified public calls for accountability, with residents and local officials growing frustrated by Henyard's apparent disregard for the financial health of Dalton and her refusal to address the growing concerns surrounding her administration. As the investigation continues, it remains to be seen whether Henyard will be held accountable for her actions or if she will be able to weather the storm of public backlash and legal scrutiny that continues to mount against her. The growing controversies surrounding Tiffany Henyard have cast a dark shadow over her tenure as mayor of Dalton, with the misuse of public funds and allegations of fraudulent activity threatening to unravel her administration. One of the most troubling aspects of the scandal is the civil case filed in April 2024, which alleges that a former assistant was sexually assaulted during a work trip to Las Vegas. The plaintiff claimed she was drugged and beaten following a dinner with a village trustee, and both Henyard and a trustee are listed as defendants in the case. In addition to this disturbing claim, Henyard's administration is also facing accusations of financial misconduct. Federal prosecutors have accused Keith Freeman, a close associate of Henyard, of bankruptcy fraud, further complicating the already dire situation surrounding the mayor. The scandal has extended to Henyard's inner circle, with Brian Miles, a member of Henyard's $1 million security team, filing a new complaint that only adds to the complexity of the ongoing case. Despite repeated claims of innocence from Henyard's senior aide, the mounting legal challenges are increasingly difficult to ignore. Henyard has repeatedly asserted that she is the victim of a political attack, claiming that a village trustee boasted about the alleged assault during a FaceTime conversation. The involvement of infamous attorney Bo Grinley, who is known for representing clients with controversial pasts, including R. Kelly's former manager, has further fueled the fire surrounding Henyard's defense. Many residents and political analysts are growing increasingly skeptical of Henyard's legal strategies and her ability to handle the mounting public disapproval. As the number of court cases and legal disputes continues to rise, questions about witness tampering and deception have begun to surface, raising concerns about the credibility of the defense Henyard is preparing to offer. The situation has only intensified public disapproval of Henyard's leadership, with many citizens and political analysts calling for her resignation. The Dalton episode is quickly becoming a cautionary tale about the dangers of public officials being allowed to avoid accountability for their actions, with Henyard's behavior and leadership style now the subject of intense scrutiny. As the legal and financial issues surrounding her administration continue to grow, the village trustees have already taken steps to limit Henyard's authority, a clear sign that the town's leaders are losing confidence in her ability to govern effectively. The ongoing legal disputes and increasing pressure on Henyard to be held accountable for the alleged misappropriation of public funds have only amplified calls for her resignation. It remains unclear whether Henyard will be able to weather the storm or if she will be forced to step down as mayor. As the investigation into her administration's actions continues, the future of Henyard's leadership in Dalton is in serious doubt. The legal battles, financial mismanagement, and widespread public discontent suggest that Henyard's time in office may be rapidly drawing to a close, leaving many to wonder whether she will resign voluntarily or be forced out in the face of overwhelming pressure. As the situation continues to unfold, the residents of Dalton and political observers alike are watching closely, eager for answers about what the future holds for Henyard's embattled administration. The outcome of the ongoing investigations and the mounting legal challenges will ultimately determine whether Henyard can retain her position or whether she will be held accountable for the serious allegations against her. The story is far from over, and the outcome remains uncertain, but it is clear that the issues surrounding Henyard's leadership have reached a critical juncture.